So let's quickly review what renal system does. What are the major components? So as you all know, renal system is composed of a pair of kidneys, then a pair of tubes called ureters, then a common cavity which is called a single cavity which is called urinary bladder, and then a tube which is called urethra. Okay. The functions of the kidney are basically they act like filters. So they remove waste materials from the circulation. This is the major function. They have many other functions, and I think you've covered those functions before. So in addition to removing waste products, they help in maintaining fluid balance, electrolyte balance, right? They help in regulating blood pressure, blood volume, in regulating acid-base balance, pH of the blood, etc. They also produce certain hormones. Okay, but today we'll be looking at the excretory function mainly. So first we will look at functional anatomy of the urinary tract. Then we look at the processes which are required for the formation of urine. And then towards the end, we look at some basic concepts of body fluid regulation. Okay. Now anatomically, kidneys are paired organs, bean-shaped. They are located higher up in the back of the abdomen, retroperitoneal. Okay. Next to aorta. So there is an artery which is called renal artery that supplies the kidney, and renal vein that drains directly into the inferior vena cava. Okay. Then from the kidneys you have ureters that travel downwards and they empty into urinary bladder, which is a reservoir for urine, and frequently the bladder will empty and urination will take place. Okay. Now looking at kidneys more closely, if you cut open a kidney, you will see two distinct areas. Outer area is called cortex, inner area is called medulla. So this is cortex, and as you move in, this is medulla. Now in medulla, you will see what is known as renal pyramids. So the base of pyramid is towards the outside and the apex is towards the inside. So you have these pyramids in the kidney. All right. Renal artery enters from the hilum of the kidney. Then it divides into smaller and smaller branches. All these branches will go within these renal pyramids, and then they will divide into smaller capillaries where filtration will take place, where the waste materials will be removed from the blood, and then they will start joining together and form renal vein that will leave the kidney. Okay. So if you look at renal artery, renal vein, and also this is the ureter, which will collect all the waste material and bring it down to the urinary bladder. All clear? Simple? Okay. Now, nephron is the term used for the functional and anatomical unit of the kidney. And there are around 1.2 million nephrons per kidney. And they are present here within these pyramids. These are the filtration units where ultimately the blood will reach in the capillaries and the filtration of waste material will take place. Okay, so if you zoom in, all right, this is where the nephrons will be located. So arteries will branch into smaller and smaller branches, ultimately reaching to the nephron. So in the nephron, basically you have two networks. You have a network of blood vessels, you have a network of tubules. So tubules will collect the waste material and they will join together to form the ureter. Make sense? Okay. Now the nephron, as I told you, around 1.2 million per kidney. This is a schematic diagram of the nephron. Blood vessels, all right, and then they form this tuft of capillaries, which we call it glomerulus. Around glomerulus, you have this cup-like structure that surrounds the capillaries. This whole structure, the capillaries and this cup-like structure that surrounds the capillaries. This is called renal corpuscle. Okay, glomerulus is the capillary inside. Bowman's capsule is the capsule around. The whole structure is called renal corpuscle. What it contains? It contains glomerulus, which is the capillaries inside. The Bowman's capsule or glomerular capsule, this cup-like structure which is around the capillaries. And then you have supporting cells in there, which are called mesangial cells. So this is renal corpuscle. After renal corpuscle, you see a network of tubules. Now, another diagram that I just wanted to show you the basic structure of nephron before I go into the details. This is Bowman's capsule where filtration will take place. After filtration, the filtrate will travel through the tubules. Now, there are different parts of tubules and they are named accordingly. The first one is called proximal tubule or proximal convoluted tubule. Okay. The second part, which is a loop that goes down into the medulla, then comes back upwards. This is known as loop of Henle. After loop of Henle, there's another tubule which is called another part of tubule which is called distal tubule or distal convoluted tubule. This one will then continue as collecting duct. So these are major parts of the tubule. Why is it important to know these parts? Different processes occur in different parts. Now this is to show you how it looks like in real life. This one is still simplified. Real life is even more complicated. Okay. The previous diagram was there just to show you in a very simple way parts of the nephron. If you see here now, the artery comes in, all right, breaks down. So this is the arteriole. Then it forms this structure which is called glomerulus, which is a tuft of capillaries. Then the arteriole comes out. Usually what happens when you have capillaries, when they join together, what do they form? Venules and then veins, right? But here is different. An arteriole goes in, forms these capillaries, and then an arteriole comes out. It's not a venule, still an arteriole. The one that goes in, we call it afferent arteriole. The one that comes out, it is called efferent arteriole. Afterwards, this efferent arteriole will break down into smaller branches, which will then travel along the tubules, and then it will become a venule when it is leaving the nephron. Okay, this is the basic structure of the tubules and the blood vessels around the tubules. Does that make sense? Now, one more thing, if you note here, the first part of tubule, what was the name of the first part? Proximal tubule, right? Proximal convoluted tubule. Okay. Then after this, what do we have? This loop of Henle, right? Loop of Henle. After loop of Henle, what do we have? Distal convoluted tubule. And then it becomes collecting duct, and then it opens into collecting tubules. And many nephrons will open into collecting tubule, which will then join together, ultimately forming the ureter. Make sense? Do you note one thing over here? This distal tubule, okay, it comes very close to the renal corpuscle. It has a very important functional significance. These cells in the distal tubule actually come very close to the afferent arteriole before it enters the glomerulus or the Bowman's capsule. And this is where you have certain cells which make certain chemicals or hormones, and I will discuss this later. So remember that. Distal tubule comes in very close proximity to afferent arteriole just before it enters the Bowman's capsule. All right. To make story a little more interesting, there are different types of nephrons in the kidney. The total number is 1.2 million, right? Majority of nephrons are called cortical nephrons. So they start in the cortex, which means the outer part of the kidney. They come deeper. They just enter the medulla. All right. These are called cortical nephrons. Second type of nephrons, which are less in number, These are called juxtamedullary nephrons. These nephrons again begin in the cortex but a bit deeper. But if you look at their loop of Henle goes very deep into the medulla and then comes back up. Okay. Now these nephrons, the juxtamedullary nephrons, although they are small in number, but they play a very important role in the composition of urine, in the process of what we call concentrating the urine. So the way kidneys reabsorb large amounts of water. So these nephrons become very important in that process. Okay, so just remember these few points. All right. The main function of loop of Henle is in allowing the kidneys to concentrate the urine. In other words, in conserving water. Okay. All right. Now, this is what I showed you earlier. The distal tubule passes very close to the afferent arteriole. And the cells in the distal tubule, which are very close to the cells in the afferent arteriole, are specialized cells. The cells which are in the distal tubule, these are called macula densa. And the cells which are in the afferent arteriole, which are in close proximity to these cells, they are called juxtaglomerular cells. Now, these specialized cells have special functions. Two major functions. These cells will detect, okay, any change in the blood flow. If there is a decrease in blood flow, okay, these cells will produce an enzyme which is called renin, which will then convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, and then there are other components in that system which I will come to later. Okay, but the main function here is production of renin. In addition, these cells also regulate the blood flow within each nephron. So each nephron of the 1.2 million in the kidney, each nephron has its own regulatory mechanism. So it can regulate how much blood will flow from the afferent arteriole into the glomerulus. So that will determine how much filtration pressure will be there. So each nephron can regulate its own function. So these cells play a very important role in that. Now nephron, let's look at the first part, which is the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus inside, where the filtration takes place. This is known, the filtration membrane is composed of these few layers. So first of all, the blood which is inside the capillaries, whatever has to filter out has to pass through the capillary endothelium, the cells which line the capillaries, right? After endothelium, there is the basement membrane outside the capillary endothelium. After basement membrane, you have the visceral layer of glomerular capsule or the Bowman's capsule, that layer, where you have cells which are called podocytes. Okay, they have foot processes that they are touching the visceral layer of Bowman's capsule. Between the foot processes, you have what is known as filtration slits, little holes from where the molecules can pass through. These are called filtration slits. And after this, the filtrate from the blood, whatever passes through, will pass through three layers. So these three layers, and it will form the primary urine. It is also called filtrate. Whatever passes through this membrane is called filtrate. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about inside here. If you look at a close-up here, so this is the innermost layer, is the blood is here, right, in the capillaries. This layer is the capillary endothelium, basement membrane. Then you have foot processes of the podocytes. In between the foot processes, you have these slits. Okay, the filtration slits. And after this, you have the filtrate, which will pass through into this empty space, which is the Bowman's capsule or the Bowman's space. Make sense? So anything that has to filter out of blood has to pass through these few layers. What passes through these layers easily? Water passes easily. Okay, small molecules, ions, they pass easily. Bigger molecules will not pass through here. So proteins will not pass. Amino acids will not pass generally. Small amounts will pass, but immediately they will be reabsorbed later, as I'll explain in the next few slides. So this filtration filtration membrane, it provides a selective barrier, allows water to filter through, ions to filter through, and only small molecules to filter through. Now, coming back to the same, schematic diagram of the nephron, proximal tubule, loop of Henle, different limbs, distal tubule, and collecting duct. So if you put it now in context, this is where the filtration occurs. The filtrate comes into the Bowman's space, then it flows into the proximal tubule, and so on. And if you look at the anatomical location of the nephron, this part is generally in the outer side, so it's in the cortex of the kidney. All right, so, and this part is in the medulla, inner medulla. Depending upon you're talking about the cortical nephrons or juxtamedullary nephrons, it will be slightly different. Okay, but generally, as a rule of thumb, the filtration occurs in the cortex, right? Loop of Henle goes down into the medulla, then comes back, distal tubule, and then collecting duct. Now, renal blood flow is very, very high. Kidneys receive around 1 liter of blood per minute, which is about 25% of cardiac output. A quarter of cardiac output goes to the kidney. And sometimes, it is said that kidneys receive a lion's share of cardiac output. This is at rest. Now, this determines glomerular filtration rate, how much filtrate is produced at the glomerulus. And autoregulation is also very, very important. As I was mentioning to you earlier, that the cells that come in contact, and they have special functions in regulating the blood flow through each nephron. Okay. All right. The blood vessels, if you look at the blood vessels, the anatomy of blood vessels within the kidney. So renal arteries break down into interlobar arteries. They become arcuate arteries, and then ultimately they will become glomerular capillaries, then peritubular capillaries. Ultimately, they will leave the kidney as renal veins. Okay. Blood flow to the kidneys is regulated via the autonomic nervous system. Plus, there are hormones which can regulate renal blood flow as well. Okay. So for kidneys to function as an effective filter units, the blood flow to the kidneys has to be very precisely regulated. So you have multiple arms of regulation for blood pressure, for blood flow. All right. Now, if you look at, let's put everything together now. So kidneys, the juxtaglomerular apparatus, remember the special cells? Okay. If there is a decrease in blood pressure, generally, for example, somebody had an accident and lost a lot of blood pressure will drop, right? Or if there is a decrease in blood volume, it will stimulate these cells, juxtaglomerular cells. These cells will produce renin. Renin will be secreted into the blood. It will convert angiotensinogen, which is an inactive protein, into angiotensin 1. This is still inactive. This is converted to angiotensin 2 by another enzyme, which is called angiotensin converting enzyme, or ACE. Have you heard of ACE inhibitors? ACE inhibitors are the drugs that block this enzyme. Okay, so these are used to treat hypertension. Once angiotensin 2 is produced, it will have multiple effects. What will it do? It will stimulate the hypothalamus, which will produce another hormone which is known as antidiuretic hormone, or ADH. It will also stimulate adrenal gland, which will produce a hormone known as aldosterone. It will also cause vasoconstriction all over in the body, which will increase the peripheral resistance. Blood pressure will go up. Aldosterone, what it does, it causes reabsorption of sodium and water. Again, blood pressure will go up. ADH causes water absorption back into the blood. Again, blood volume will increase and BP will go up. As you can see, as a result of a drop in renal perfusion, renin was released, and then it activates many downstream targets. All of them work together to bring the blood pressure up or blood volume back to normal. Does that make sense? Okay. So basically, aldosterone causes sodium reabsorption. Water follows sodium, so it will increase the blood volume, which will ultimately increase the blood pressure. ADH will increase water absorption, and vasoconstriction will also cause increase in blood pressure. So the whole this whole system is known as renin, angiotensin, aldosterone axis. So all these hormones are involved together. Kidneys play a very important role via this mechanism in body fluid regulation and blood pressure regulation. Does that make sense, everyone? All clear? Okay.